Good evening, welcome back for some more Lord of the Rings LCG. And tonight it is Escape from Dol Guldur Nightmare Mode. I have done the setup in advance for this one because it took a lot of attempts to get the setup that I wanted. About 60, I believe. 60 different times of dealing the 3 cards and saying, nope, that's not going to work, or getting the wrong champion as the prisoner. So this is what I arrived at for the setup, and I'm going to go ahead and shuffle my deck in the encounter deck and then get started. This hand is not that great, but it does have Vilya in it, so that's something. Path of Need I don't think is going to be super useful in this one. So 2 of those cards, encounter cards, are duds there, and the jailer will take possession of the 3rd objective. And I was just debating where to get the resources to use Vilya from. Go ahead and quest with Frodo and Elrond and ready up Elrond with Frodo's ability. And the card is a location, so I make some progress on the quest right away. Go ahead and move to the location. And the jailer can just stay there for now. Lower threat by 1 with Frodo, and I get an opportunity to Vilya for an unexpected courage. Could be better, could be worse. I think that's going to do it from turn 1. Now I'm thinking about what to do. I don't know that I have many options here. I could play Angbor the Fearless, but then I wouldn't be able to use Frodo's ability. So I go ahead and quest with Elrond and Frodo. Ready up Elrond with Frodo's ability, and once again, I must choose and discard cards until I have only 2 in hand, which is a huge inconvenience. That's a terrible card to get. And the 2 that I decide to keep, I believe, are Unexpected Courage, or nope, I keep Gildor and Jubayr. I don't know if I would do that again if I had it to do over again. Dungeon Labyrinth got 1 resource token at the end of the round, which increased its quest points, so I don't quite clear it this round. But I do get the chance to Vilya. Lower threat by 1 thanks to Frodo, and now I'm lowering threat by 6. So kind of a slow start for Vilya-ing. Really hoping for allies that'll help me to defeat the Nazgul. And the card I draw is not terribly useless, not completely useless. Once again, I'm continuing to quest with Frodo and Elrond, and it's a location, so that's good, and that clears the Dungeon Labyrinth. Have to exhaust a hero to travel there, but that's not a problem. I got Beregond ready to go for that. And now I get something good with Vilya. Go ahead and travel to Great Forest Web. Exhaust Elrond or Beregond, it doesn't matter. Not going to be doing any combat, so it could be either one of them. Threat's good. Board's pretty clear. Things are going well so far. Beorn is a draw that's not likely to do much for a while. But can get out Jubayr now. That would be decent. So once again, questing this time with 3 characters. Discard all events in hand. Well, that's just a test of will. But a relatively innocuous card. So we're going to make some progress here. And get the chance to Vilya again. And it's another useful ally. So we're rolling now. Can't get out Armored Destrier right away. Forgot to lower threat by 1 with Frodo. Gonna quest a little harder here, still with 1 extra character. And that's a relatively minor enemy. So we go ahead and clear into phase 2. Once I grab one of the objectives. You have to have one of the objectives in your control in order to clear. And at this point, I think I realized that Thalion couldn't come out because I could only play 1 ally per round, and I already played Jubayr. So Thalion had to go to the bottom of the deck as not playable with Vilya. And now I'm thinking about what to do here. That is not going to come out until I use the action to take Gandalf's map, and I think I realize that in a moment and go ahead and do it. Not a big deal, it's just 2 threat, and it's going to go on Frodo for him to hold, and it just means he can't attack or defend, which I wouldn't have him do anyway. So I go ahead and Vilya for Steward of Gondor. It's going to be helpful in getting out Gildor and Beorn. And this enemy will attack Beregond. Or I'm thinking about having him attack Jubayr, because he'll discard the shadow card immediately. Doesn't matter too much though. It's just there's shadow cards that could affect my exhausted allies. In some quests, I don't know this quest that well, but I think that's what I was thinking. So I realize at this point that I should have claimed Gandalf's map, and I rectify that. Otherwise I wouldn't have been able to move on to phase 2. Doesn't really matter when you move on to phase 2, so that could have happened at any time. Only able to play 1 ally per round. And I'm thinking about when I want to engage the jailer. Éowyn, who is the captive, will be very useful in taking out the Nazgul. The Nazgul is not a unique enemy, so I can use Jubayr to cancel that shadow card. But I get out Armored Destrier, and I'm thinking about Beorn here. So, got a very good setup here. Go ahead and quest. It's a Dol Guldur Orc, so I need 2 damage on a character committed to the quest. Ranger of Cardolan can take that. And we get some progress on phase 2. Which is going to rescue Éowyn and bring the Nazgul into the staging area. Don't know why I lowered threat there. I may have thought that I used Frodo's ability, but I didn't. Because he didn't have any resources. In any case, it wouldn't affect anything for the moment. The Nazgul, I'm going to have attack Jubayr so I can cancel his shadow card because it's not a unique enemy. And Jubayr will just take 1 damage, but that's very good because if the Nazgul gets the shadow effect resolved, then I have to discard a character. The other 2 enemies will attack Beregond, and he can cancel one of their shadow cards with Armored Destrier. So they're not going to present too much of a problem. And then Éowyn will be able to take out most of the board with the assistance of Elrond or Beorn. Shadow card, if the attacking enemy is not defeated this phase, raise threat by 7. Could be bad on certain enemies, but on this particular enemy, not such a big deal. So I should be at 35 threat now, not 34, but I don't think that's going to be any kind of problem. So the Dol Guldur orcs attack Elrond. I have no idea why I wouldn't just put the attack on Beregond as well. Can't fathom a reason why I would have done that. That'll take out the Nazgul, and Éowyn can take out the captive as well. Crazed captive. Why did I do that? Did I think that the card said something else? Definitely should not have raised threat by 7 there. Must have misread the card. Well, now threat is 6 higher than it should be. And that's going to increase the difficulty, but the quest is set up really well now. It's a little hard to lose from this point, even with high threat. So I go ahead and quest reasonably hard here. Still have to take out the jailer before I can move on. Decide I'm gonna ready up the Ranger of Cardolan. No, don't know why I would do that. So we get a Spider of Dol Guldur, which gains Surge due to an unclaimed objective, which surges luckily into nothing too threatening, driven by Shadow. So I still am going to make some progress. Not a lot, but a little bit. Be 11 to 6, so 5 progress. And these enemies are going to engage. So I'm just thinking about where I want to put each of the attacks. 2 of them should go on Beregond. The Shadow card, any hero damaged is turned face down. Beregond's not going to be damaged. So I get rid of the next most formidable Shadow card, or at least the Shadow card on the next most formidable enemy. I do lower threat by 1 thanks to Beregond's ability. And I don't know why I do that. Yeah, that Dol Guldur Orc should go on Jubayr so he can cancel the Shadow card. There you go. And now it's just a matter of taking out the enemies. I don't have a lot of dudes left to do it. But I can use Beorn here to just eliminate the jailer if I use his ability. Or I could take out the Dol Guldur Orc, but I need that objective clear in order to move on. So I decide I'm going to take out the Spider using Beorn's ability and Elrond. And that means Beorn is getting shuffled into the deck at the end of the phase. Elrond's still got an action, so he can do 2 damage. And off goes Beorn. Get Faramir out. That'll help with the final phase. My favorite ally. I could play Ranger of Cardolan as well. I can't imagine why I would need to save the resources on Beregond. I'm just thinking about how much progress. Oh, but you can only play one ally per round, of course. So we're going to quest for enough to get all the progress I need, but I'm not going to move on to phase 3 this round because I haven't claimed the objectives yet. Exhaust the character due to the win revealed on the spider. There's the progress I need, so as soon as I claim the next 2 objectives, I will advance to the next round, and then I don't want to do that until it's the turn that I'm going to win the game, because the objectives do terrible things while you're holding on to them, except for Gandalf's map, which is pretty innocuous. The other 2 you don't really want to claim until it's like the planning phase on the turn you plan to win. Shadow card there's a dud. Beregond, Armored Destrier takes out one of the shadow cards. Threat's still 6 higher than it should be, but no problem. Spider I should have attacked Beregond, and the Dol Guldur Orc I should have attacked Jubayr. And now I got some attacks to retaliate with. And I decide to use the 4 attack to take out the King Spider and 2 to take out Dol Guldur Orcs. I'm a little light on attack power on the board at this point. That's why the Jailer gets to stick around for a while. And I decide I'm going to use Good Harvest to get out Gildor. I'm thinking I was saving 3 on Beregond just in case Galadrim's Greeting makes an appearance. Don't really need to quest for much here. I still do just to use Frodo's ability, and Éowyn wasn't going to do much otherwise. And that spider did surge, so it brought 5 threat to the table. So I make some additional irrelevant progress. Engage a couple more enemies, which is a bother, to be sure. One of them was Doomed 1, which I think I forgot, but it'd still be plus 4 higher threat than I should be. So Jubayr and Armored Destrier with Beregond are making easy work of the defense, and I've got a little bit more options for retaliation. I can do not enough to take out the Jailer yet. 2, 4, 6, 7. So I use 3 to take out the Cavern Guardian. And now I can put some damage on the Jailer but not kill it with 6. And we're on to the next round. We got Ioreth, not real helpful. And I probably should have played Ranger of Cardolan instead, which I now realized that Ioreth didn't really have a good healing target. So I play Ranger of Cardolan. Another enemy is revealed. More irrelevant progress on the quest, but it does mean another threat dropped. Raise defending player's threat by 4. Well, I'm still 4 higher than I should be. Doesn't do much damage though. That guy only attacks for 1. Now Beregond's gonna take out one of the shadow cards. Should have had that Torture Master attack Jubayr to deal with the shadow card, but oh well. Minor mistake, didn't hurt me. So I need to take out the Jailer. Then next round, at the beginning, I can simply claim the objectives and sprint for the finish, and that'll be the end of the game. Don't want to claim them at the end of this round because they have their negative effects at the end of a round. I could actually take out one of the other enemies too, which don't really need to do, but I did it anyway. And we're on to the final round. So in the planning phase, I can go ahead and use an action to claim the Dungeon Torch and the Shadow Key. But I'm counting my threat right now and realizing you have to use 2 threat to claim each of them, and so I'm too high at 46. Of course, I'm 4 higher than I needed to be because I raised threat by 7 when I shouldn't have. But I go ahead and play an extra turn just so I can lower threat with Beregond and with Frodo. So I get to drop threat with Frodo. And I get to drop threat with Beregond. Choose and discard an attachment you control. So I figure I can live without one of the Elrond attachments, I think. Can't discard Gandalf's map. It would cost 2 threat to regain it again. I decide I can live without Vilya. But I do drop threat by 1 with Beregond, and now I can claim the 2 objectives. Of course, I could have done it before if I hadn't increased threat unnecessarily, but no worries. And now I can claim the final 2 for a cost of 4 threat. Which will immediately move us into phase 3. If you do that action after the quest phase has started, then you don't need to play the Orc card, but I'm not sure if I specified that or if I was thinking that or not, or if I just forgot to put the Orc card out, but either way we don't get to another combat phase, so it doesn't really matter. I need 11 progress here. Got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. So I make 20 progress, which is sufficient. And that will end the quest. Forgetting to play the irrelevant Orc card. Doesn't matter. Mistakenly raising threat almost did matter. I might have thought this was going to be this was a loss, but in the end, oh well. The key to this quest, in my opinion, is just getting a good setup. Just trying over and over and over until you get a good setup. And as I said, I think I tried 60 times before I found a setup I liked. And then it was smooth sailing from there. I've seen decks listed on RingsDB that claim a higher win rate on this quest, and I find that plausible. 1 in 60 is not an especially good win rate. That's about what I had in progression mode and normal as well. But all things considered, I think this quest took about 40 minutes to do, and I'm fine with that. If I could play more attempts, but it would take a lot longer time-wise to beat the quest. So I'm not too concerned about what the deck's win rate is, but for what it's worth, there are very, very likely to be other decks out there that'll have a higher win rate. Clearly this deck performs reasonably well when you get a good setup. So, thanks for watching.